Mikaela Shiffrin didn't appear godlike on Sunday. She seemed like a regular person struggling through a challenge nobody else could witness. The Globe observed in shocked quiet as the most accomplished alpine skier ever reached the end of the Olympic giant slalom and noticed the number 11 appearing beside her name. For Mikaela Shiffrin, an athlete who has dedicated more than 10 years standing on winners' platforms, placing 11 spots behind isn't simply a defeat, it's a massive transformation in the athletic world. The Milano Cortina Games were meant to be her comeback story. Following the devastating disappointment of Beijing 4 years earlier, where the planet's most commanding skier failed to complete several races, this was the opportunity for Shiffrin to recover her throne. But as she remained at the base of the slope in Cortina d'Ampezzo, the snow whirling around her, it wasn't a gold medal she was grasping, it was an understanding. To the everyday spectator, an 11th place result at the Olympics represents a letdown. But to the countless American women who have tracked Mikaela's path since she was a teen, this occasion felt intensely personal. We have observed her triumph in everything, lose her dad, bounce back from severe injuries, and handle the overwhelming burden of representing an entire country. Yesterday, we didn't simply witness a competition. We witnessed the genuine, unedited truth of what occurs when a legend confronts their own boundaries. And it's the statements she made following the race that have recently shattered America's heart. In the direct wake of her 11th place result, Mikaela Shiffrin did something most superstars wouldn't risk doing. She spoke honestly. Standing in the mixed zone, her eyes showing the exhaustion of a 2-year comeback journey, she delivered an interview that has since become widespread. She didn't point fingers at the wax on her equipment. She didn't blame the weather or the challenging layout of the slope. Instead, she confessed something that connected with every individual who has ever fought to rediscover their former self after a significant obstacle. Mikaela stated she felt like she had zero chance of going faster. She mentioned she felt like she was performing well, but she couldn't sense the velocity. She explained she didn't feel that additional power. For the 55-plus age group, this confession is meaningful. It's the sensation of understanding precisely what your body ought to be accomplishing, but discovering that the link has weakened. It's the mental barrier that emerges after you've experienced enough hardship, both bodily and mentally, to recognize that staying cautious is a survival instinct. Mikaela wasn't simply discussing a ski competition. She was discussing the disappearance of that unbeatable sensation. When you're 20, you don't consider the crash. When you're 30 and you've dedicated the previous year in a medical facility or a rehabilitation center, the crash is everything you consider. By confessing she felt zero hope, Mikaela Shiffrin made the greatest of all time relatable. She granted us approval to acknowledge when we're exhausted, even when society anticipates us to be extraordinary. To grasp why Mikaela is lacking that additional power, we need to examine the medical history that brought her to Milan. Precisely 1 year prior, Mikaela experienced a devastating knee trauma, a high-speed accident that caused a torn MCL and a bone contusion that removed her from competition during the height of the World Cup calendar. For a racer of her skill level, an MCL rupture is not merely a bodily injury. It is a violation of faith between her consciousness and her knees. She dedicated months in an exhausting recovery regimen, recorded on social platforms not for attention but for responsibility. We observed her performing painfully slow stability drills. We observed her collaborating with her rehabilitation specialists to restore the precise balance needed to execute a turn at 80 mph. But at age 30, healing is not identical to when she was 18. The quickness in the muscles requires more time to come back, and the assurance in the ligament requires longer to mend. On Sunday, it became apparent that while Mikaela is fit enough to compete, she is not yet Olympic-level daring. The younger competitors, headed by the 24-year-old Alice Robinson and the hometown Italian champion Federica Brignon, were accepting dangers that Mikaela's mind simply wouldn't permit her to accept. In a discipline determined by fractions of a second, that minuscule microscopic pause is the distinction between the platform and the rear of the group. She is battling the delay of a body that has contributed everything to the slope for 15 years. There is another element pressing on Mikaela's equipment: the shadow of 2022. 4 years back, the Beijing Olympics were a catastrophe for Shiffrin. She showed up as the top choice in 5 competitions and departed with 0 medals, recording 3 non-completions. It was a breakdown so visible and so startling that it transformed her connection with the discipline. Since that time, Mikaela has discussed candidly about the overwhelming stress of being an American symbol. She bears the pressure of NBC's primetime viewership, the demands of her backers, and the heritage of being the most victorious racer in history. Yesterday's 11th place result could have started a downward spiral. It could have been Beijing repeated. But this is where the evolved Mikaela demonstrated her fortitude. Instead of withdrawing or creating alibis, she held her position. She recognized that she was let down, but she did not allow the disappointment to establish her worth. She has discovered that the greatest of all time label is a snare if you permit it to be. She is no longer merely a meta-learning apparatus. She is an individual who is discovering to establish achievement on her own conditions. For a generation of women who have frequently shouldered the mental weight of their households and professions, observing Mikaela handle this psychological struggle with such dignity is more motivating than another gold medal could ever be. She is demonstrating to us that you can fall short on the leaderboard and still succeed the day. If you want to understand how competitive the group was on Sunday, you only need to examine the champion Federica Brignon. The 35-year-old Italian seasoned competitor won the gold medal before a roaring home audience, becoming the most senior woman to ever claim an Olympic giant slalom. It was a beautiful occasion. Brignon, similar to Shiffrin, has endured years of traumas and uncertainties, but on her native snow in the Italian Alps, she discovered an exceptional velocity that Mikaela just couldn't equal. The picture of the two of them at the base of the slope is the signature photograph of the day. Brignon in emotional joy and Shiffrin instantly approaching to hug her. There was zero bitterness. There was only the deep shared regard of two athletes who have been in the struggle together for a decade. Brignon's victory is a reminder that in alpine racing, the slope doesn't acknowledge your past. It only acknowledges the upcoming turn. Brignon discovered her perfect rhythm while Mikaela was still seeking her hope. It was a demonstration in seasoned determination. And the reality that Shiffrin was the initial individual to honor with her competitor speaks greatly about the nature of the athlete America admires. She didn't allow her own zero-hope confession prevent her from offering hope and recognition for her companion. But the narrative isn't finished. On Wednesday, February 18th, Mikaela Shiffrin will return into the starting position for the slalom. This is her specialty competition. This is the performance she has perfected more occasions than any. Woman in history, the pressure could not be more intense. This is her final opportunity for an individual gold medal in these games. The inquiry on everyone's thoughts is, can she discover the power? The zero-hope confession might truly be her hidden advantage. By confessing the reality, she has removed the demand of flawlessness. She is no longer the top choice who must succeed. She is the unlikely winner who is attempting to rediscover herself. For the countless of us observing at home, we are not cheering for her to defeat the timer anymore. We are cheering for her to sense that additional power again. We desire her to reach that finish line and beam regardless of what the leaderboard displays. Because at this point of her profession, Mikaela Shiffrin is not competing against other racers. She's competing against the form of herself that existed before the traumas and the sorrow. And that is a competition we can all understand. Achievement for Mikaela Shiffrin in 2026 is not calculated in awards. It is calculated in the bravery to continue appearing when you are worried you have lost your advantage. It is calculated in the truthfulness to inform the globe I am fighting and then placing your protective gear back on for the following attempt. Mikaela Shiffrin might have placed 11th yesterday, but she revealed to us what it appears like to be a victor of the human soul. She revealed to us that maturing with elegance does not signify surrendering, it signifies adjusting. It signifies discovering a distinct kind of velocity, a velocity created from knowledge rather than just pure young fearlessness. She is the finest not because she never fails, but because she understands precisely how to manage it when she does. She is instructing a country of women that our significance is not connected to our maximum performance. It is connected to our strength on our weakest days. The slalom is approaching, the slope is ready, and Mikaela Shiffrin is still present. Whether she claims gold on Wednesday or places 11th again, she has already provided us the most precious teaching of the Milano Cortina Games, that it is acceptable to be human. The greatest of all time still has courage and America is still right there with her. Absolutely.